What supplies do you need for breastfeeding? So this is going to depend on your lifestyle, of course. If you are a stay-at-home mom versus a mother returning to work who's going to need to pump, you are going to need other things. I worked, but my baby went to work with me. So essentially, sort of like the stay-at-home mom, I did a lot of direct nursing. I did not use the pump often, nor did I use bottles very often. So those are not going to be a big focus of this conversation. When it comes to breastfeeding itself in its most simple form, it does not require all that much. And I'm going to take this list from the most essential, in my opinion, most necessary, and then we're going to work towards the more convenience items or extra items. And I will also touch on some breastfeeding items that I didn't actually use, but are out there and available. My number one breastfeeding item that I could not live without was a nipple balm. Some people call it a nipple butter. So a butter or balm, it's up to you what kind you get and how natural you go. You do your own research. I just used the generic one. It came in a yellow bottle, I believe. And then once I ran out of that, I went to a purple one, and I did not like that one as much. It was very thick, almost like thicker than honey, and it just did not smear on very well and wasn't as comfortable to apply. So why do you need this item and how long? Typically, you're going to need this item the first 3 or so months. You may use it a little longer or a little less. It's basically like as you would use chapstick on your lips to help prevent dry and cracked nipples in this case, or like bleeding. And we want to avoid that at all costs. I was using a nipple cream after every single feeding, always after showers, before bed, and just sometimes even in between feedings. I really was trying to keep my nipples in good shape during the early weeks of breastfeeding. I wanted to stay as healthy as possible. Next most used or most recommended item would be nursing pads. So these go in your nursing bra. You can buy reusable or disposable. I have a whole nother video on that and a breakdown. You want these because you are going to leak. And again, leaking usually only lasts for the first 3 months. So don't go too crazy buying too many, because before you know it, you are through this phase and you no longer need this item. 3 would be the nursing bra itself. I did not use regular bras when I was breastfeeding. I exclusively used nursing bras. I love them. The convenience mattered to me. I would recommend getting very comfortable ones. For the most part, I liked to sleep in them as well. So they were not a full-on sports bra, but definitely more comfy. And then I had at least one that was a nicer structured bra with like a wire. And that was for, if I had a wedding or any sort of formal event that I needed a nice bra under a dress or an outfit, because I breastfed for months on months on months. So I needed to be able to go to some of those nicer events and have a proper bra for that. The next item is a nursing cover. Now for me, I wanted my privacy when I was nursing, and I used 2 different types of covers. One I used primarily, and the other one I didn't like it as much, but I see where it could come in handy. So one of them just had your neck strap and it like draped across the front of you, and it had like open sides that you could tuck back. And then the other one was that like full circle around you, and it was like stretchy. When I had a newborn, I liked the less coverage one because I could access them easier. Once they were older and maybe they flung the cover off or they kicked it with their little feet, I liked the jersey one that went completely around me so they could not kick it off and expose me to the public. I liked my privacy. That was just my personal preference. So breastfeeding cover went everywhere with me as far as out in public, kept it in the diaper bag, kept it in whatever car I was driving at the time, whether with myself or my husband. And it was a must-have item for me. It may not be a must-have item for you, and that's perfectly fine. You do you, and you do your confidence level. I will also say it was a worthwhile item for me because I used it over a year for both of my children. I made it past the 12-month mark breastfeeding them, and this was an item I used during my entire breastfeeding journey. I also got one of them secondhand from a friend, and the other one I believe came in one of those welcome bins or baskets from either Target or Amazon. So I didn't even pay for either of my nursing covers. So see if you can get one for free as well. Okay, the Haka. So I had the Haka, and I did use it primarily during the first 3 months. Basically, I would nurse my baby on one side, wear the Haka on the other, collect a little bit of milk to build a little bit of a freezer stash. Now, I will say I, for the most part, was with my baby and directly nursed them, so they didn't actually use bottles much. So technically, I could have lived without this item, but I did have it and I did use it, and I did like it for what I used it for. If you're collecting milk, typically you're going to want milk bags. So the milk I would collect in the Haka, I would then freeze in these milk bags. Now, if you are feeding your baby your milk quickly, you could just use the pitcher method or store it in the fridge, like literally in a glass container or something. Obviously, you need to know your milk storage rules and standards for how long it can be there and all that. Overall, did I need a lot of milk storage bags? No. Did I buy way too many? Yes, because I ended up not really doing bottles. So therefore, I didn't need this freezer milk. That was just my lifestyle and my preferences and the way it went for me. A pump. So I did own a pump. It was one that I got through insurance, so I did not pay anything for it. It was free. It was something I used on the very, very rare occasion. I did not find a need to pump often or was away from my baby very often where I was in that scenario. And I eventually got to where my baby would not take bottles. Therefore, I basically cleaned my pump and put it away. And finally, bottles. Like I said, my baby took a couple of bottles. We did not buy these bottles. They were ones that we got freebies from either friends that passed them down or they were in our welcome like Amazon and Target boxes as well. So we didn't actually buy bottles. Now, on to some items that I did not try and I did not own. Like these items were not in my house. They were not available to me. The first one being a nipple shield. I never tried one at the hospital. I never used one. Now, some breastfeeding women find them very helpful in latching. Nipple shield is this like plastic little thing you put over your nipple and it's a little bit hard. I thought I've seen one before and I didn't realize how hard they can actually be. I thought that was kind of interesting. One thing that is a bummer about them is once your baby's used to them, it can sometimes be hard to wean them from it. I would recommend trying to wean them off the nipple shield if possible, because otherwise, for the entire duration of your nursing, which could be a year, you have to have this one more item with you and it has to be with you all the time. Middle of the night feedings and on the go out in public. And it just seems like a hassle to me because it's also something that needs to be extremely sanitary because you can develop infections on your breast and in your baby's mouth. They can get thrush and other issues if you don't keep this thing sanitary. So it seems like a hassle to me and I would try to avoid it, but it is a tool at your disposal if you need it. The next item is these little things called silverettes. People love these things. They're a bit pricey. Apparently they're supposed to be like soothing or relieve pain in your nipples. I never experienced them. I never had them, so I cannot give you a recommendation on whether or not they are worthwhile and whether or not I would use them. Like cooling gel pads, I feel like sometimes they're blue or they're purple and they're kind of like circles that go around your nipple. I never tried them. I never had any. I would say be careful though. Don't maybe put them in the freezer and then put them on yourself. I would maybe put them in the fridge so they're cool, but they're not like frozen or too cold. That can be very shocking to your body. So I'd be careful with those and I did not try them. So once again, no real thoughts to share on those. This other item that I've heard of is, I believe, called the Everter. It is basically a nipple prepping tool for your babies. So this is something you would use if you had very inverted nipples or like flat nipples. It kind of like brings them out, if that makes sense. And I never needed this item. I was fine. My baby's latched just fine. But I think this is an item that if you anatomy-wise don't have good nipples for a latch, I would get this item. I've seen them as cheap as like $8, give or take. And I think these are a genius product for somebody whose anatomy is not ideal for breastfeeding. So check those out. Everter, I believe is what it's called. I will definitely link that one in the description because I think that sounds like an amazing product. A nursing pillow. I did not use a nursing pillow. I did not have one in my home the entire time I breastfed. And I went over a year for both my babies. Around 14, 15 months is where we weaned each one of them. I did not use one. I didn't want one. I didn't want it sitting on my couch. I didn't want it in the way. I did not want a boppy or the other one. What is it? The like breast friend or something. Didn't want any of them. Didn't use them. When I had a newborn, I took a pillow off our guest bed and I would stick that on whatever side I was nursing on. And that like elevated baby a little bit. Made do with that. The only time I really needed one was the first 3 months when I was on maternity leave. So overall, it was not a need for me and I made do. Breastfeeding foods or milk supply foods. So with my first baby, somebody did make me some lactation cookies. I ate them. They were delicious. But did I continue to eat specific foods for breastfeeding or encouraging milk production? No. With both my babies, I ate my normal diet. I ate a little extra food because I was hungry and I drank a lot of fluids and I did just fine. I don't know if these foods truly work or they don't work, but they can't hurt, but don't feel like you have to do them. All breastfeeding mamas don't have to do that. You don't have to unless you feel you need to. I did not bother with them other than what somebody made for me. And finally, a pumping bra. So there's a lot of pumps that rest in your bra and they can just sit in a normal bra and they work. And then there's like more of an old school style where it's like a flange and then like it gets skinny and then it gets kind of big again. You can attach like bottles to it. Those sometimes have like a nursing bra. It's like bandeau style and it's basically got 2 cutout circles in it. And that's where the pump parts attach to each other, like through that hole. I did not have one of those. I did not need one of those. The pump I had could go just inside of my bra. So a pumping bra is not the same as a breastfeeding or nursing bra. Okay. So pumping means it's for the pump parts to fit through it. I didn't need one. I didn't have one. Again, it will depend on your pump style if you need or have one of those. So a couple final tips I want to end with. When you want to take a shower, I had this huge fear of the water. My nipples were sore. They were kind of like a little hot, I would say, and just like I was terrified of the shower hitting them. I really, really was. And a tip that I learned online was to put your nipple balm over you before you get in the shower, almost like as a barrier. And then as you get used to the shower, you can wash properly and all that. But it kind of gave you a barrier of protection. So that's a tip, is to consider putting on your nipple balm before you get in the shower. I already mentioned with the cooling gel packs, be careful about putting them in the freezer. Maybe only put them in the fridge and just freezer for a little bit. Be cautious on that. And as I started with, this is not a pumping supply list. This is a breastfeeding supply list. This is more for direct breastfeeding. If you commit to pumping or are going to return to work, you may need a lot more items and you need to find a pumping expert. I am not a pumping expert. So find somebody that can share their information better with you. When it comes to breastfeeding in general and the supplies you need, it's going to depend on your lifestyle, your job, and what you specifically need. Don't buy items that you do not need. Because honestly, in the end, you don't need all that much. You can do it quite minimally. If I had to go back, I would do nipple balm, nursing pads, cover, and nursing bras. Those would be my 4 items that I could have made do with. I could have made do with just that. I'd also like to say, why are you breastfeeding? Is it all about nutrition for you and baby's health? If so, great. But if one of your arguments is that breastfeeding is saving you money, it can save you money. But if you go through that list that I just rattled off and you buy every single product and you buy multiples of every single product, you're not saving money by breastfeeding. If you buy everything, it is going to still get expensive. So I would recommend trying to be a little bit more minimal. Don't get overwhelmed with baby gear and just filling up your house with stuff just to have it just in case. Amazon delivers quickly if an emergency happens. You could also send your husband to the store if needed. I will have a ton of links in the description for this video of the products that I did use and recommend, as well as products that I didn't use, just so you can see what they are and if you are interested in them. However, I cannot stand by recommending those fully because I did not use some of those. They will be affiliate links, and I appreciate it if you do use those links because it, of course, gives me a little bit of a kickback at no extra cost to you. I will also have my free PDF linked that is basically a compilation of breastfeeding tips, tricks, and reminders to hopefully help you be successful on your breastfeeding journey. I hope you found this breastfeeding supplies video helpful. If you like content like this, please subscribe to my channel. Check out some of the other breastfeeding videos. I got a whole playlist because it is something that I am passionate about, and I do want to help educate others from just a real mom perspective. I am not an expert, professional, lactation consultant, none of the above. I am just a mom. I breastfed 2 babies successfully for about 14, 15 months each. And I think it's a great thing to do, and I would do it again. So I hope you liked this video, found it helpful. If you do, subscribe, like, comment, do all the things. Thank you again for watching this video, and I hope to see you at the next one. Have a wonderful day.